Outside Tokyo's Shinjuku station, nobody stops and nobody looks down. Homelessness in Japan is something most people here have learned not to see, and by the government's count, there isn't much left to look at. According to official numbers, the homeless population has been plummeting and is virtually non-existent. Every January, the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare sends officials out to count the number of people living on the streets.
2003年には2万5,000人だったのが、2025年には2,500人ですね。
In 2025, Japan counted 2,591 homeless people in a country of more than 123 million. That's roughly 1/100th the rate of homelessness of the United States.
I think it's probably fair to say that Japan has got pretty much as close as you can to solving the street homeless problem.
That's Tom Gill, a professor of social anthropology at Meiji Gakuin University. He's been studying homelessness in Japan for most of the last 40 years, and wherever he does, he's documenting.
It's almost like a little bit of code on the side of a wall.
He took me to a neighborhood in Yokohama that he's been visiting for decades. He says it's the best place to see how Japan took on homelessness.
We're in Kotobuki-cho, which is supposed to be a notorious slum district. It's just somewhere different. There's nowhere quite like this in Yokohama or anywhere else.
The neighborhood was built around the day laborer's life, with daily wages and cheap rooms. But when the work dried up in the 90s, many people ended up on the streets.
結局ここに流れてこざられなかったっていうか。
Masaru Otomo was a day laborer who lived here for 20 years.
寿のも流れてくる人たちっていうのはいろんな課題を持っていて、一般地区で受け止めきれなくて排除されてここに流れてくるっていう。
When cities across Japan failed to build their own support systems, people from all over the country drifted here.
It was common to see men sleeping in the streets.
And that didn't change until the national government stepped in with a sweeping new law in the early 2000s that, for the first time, committed to getting people off the streets by funding dozens of shelters nationwide.
Big white building here is the homeless shelter, Hamakaze.
The shelters worked. People moved off the streets and into government welfare programs called livelihood protection, which pays $900 a month, enough to cover rent and basic expenses.
生活困窮者自立支援法ができて、浜風のようなものができたりとかっていうのは大きいと思うし。
Today, roughly 2 million people now receive those benefits, according to the ministry, which is more than double the number from 20 years ago. As a result, Kotobuki-cho has grown quieter, and so have its shelters.
It's got places for 250 people. These days, well, for a couple of years now, they've been struggling to fill even half their beds. Sometimes they're under 100. And the biggest problem they have is finding more homeless people to use their facility.
A homeless shelter struggling to find homeless people. So is all this too good to be true? Ayumi Kato says it's not the whole story.
でも私たち支援団体の感覚としては確かにそうやって小屋とかテントでいるホームレスは減っている。
Kato is the director of Moyai. Her nonprofit helps people in Tokyo navigate poverty and the welfare system.
政府で調査しているのはほんの一部であると。
Japan's definition of homelessness covers only people sleeping in parks, riverbanks, roads, or train stations. If you're under a roof, any roof at all, you don't get counted.
The Japanese statistics are fairly reliable, I think, although they are based on a very narrow definition of homelessness.
These days, it's difficult to sleep in the streets. Benches are designed to be uncomfortable, parks are fenced off, and signs explain that sleeping on the ground permanently is illegal. Thousands of people who might otherwise be on the streets have found an unlikely solution. For about $10 a night, internet cafes offer private booths the size of a cubicle, showers, laundry, and food around the clock. They've become informal housing for people with nowhere else to go. They're known as net cafe refugees. A 2018 Tokyo government study found roughly 4,000 people sleeping in these cafes on any given weeknight with no permanent address. That population is larger than the number of people living on the streets. But even with that hidden population, Japan's overall record on homelessness stands out. The country's approach has drawn attention from other countries that come to study what's been done right.
Among my left-wing and progressive friends here in Japan, it's very difficult to say the words, "the Japanese government did a good job." It's against their religion, almost. But speaking as one who's carried out research with homeless people in the USA and in the UK, I still think it's a whole lot better here.
The streets are orderly, the shelters are quiet. Japan has dramatically reduced what the world can see, even as the full picture remains harder to count. In Japan, Grant Johnson, Cronkite News.